Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another 80s Monday throwback here for a film which initially took me a few times to really get it, and actually this is one that I did do a video for about 4 years ago, so I figured it's time to revisit it since it's been a while, and that is for the film being the enigmatic The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension from 1984, starring quite the eclectic cast, which includes, but is definitely not limited to, Peter Weller, Jeff Goldblum, John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd, Vincent Schiavelli, Ellen Barkin, Clancy Brown, and Carl Lumbly, who I really loved in The Fall of the House of Usher and this most recent Captain America film. But first, we will start, as usual, with the synopsis, which states, adventurer, brain surgeon, rock musician Buckaroo Banzai and his crime-fighting team, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, must stop evil alien invaders from the 8th dimension who are planning to conquer Earth. That's a mouthful there. Everything about this movie and this character is. Now, for those of you who have seen it, you already know it. It's a strange one. So this will just kind of serve as what my take on this film is, which yours may be quite different from. But for those who haven't seen it, let me explain a little bit more, especially if that title, cast, and synopsis has already kind of gotten you a bit interested in this one. So yes, our title character, Buckaroo Banzai, is an adventurer, brain surgeon, rock musician, and he is also test piloting a vehicle which intends to break through our dimension, from our dimension into another one. That breakthrough and return back brings a form of life with it and brings to light the existence of these aliens who banished an evil opposing force of other aliens into this 8th dimension that Buckaroo had just broken through and come back from. So his experiment is now enabling one of the survivors, currently locked in an asylum after coming to our dimension via an experiment decades earlier, one of these evil aliens, to find a way to free his comrades from that banishment. If this happens, the good aliens who had banished them will perform a series of acts which will end our world in favor of preventing these evildoers from returning and wreaking more havoc, if any of that makes sense. Got it? Okay, so I may even have some of that wrong, as it took a while for me to kind of understand it, as this film is not only has so much going on, it seemingly is very random in a lot of ways, just as a synopsis seems very random, but on my first 2 attempts to watch this film, it just really wasn't for me. The first attempt, a friend had it on VHS. It's a really bad copy of it. The sound was crappy. I couldn't hear well. So they were like riffing on it and making jokes and laughing along with it. I just felt like I'd missed something. I had no idea what was happening. A few years later, another friend had gotten me the DVD to check out, and I still didn't quite get it. I felt like I hadn't seen some earlier installments, such as maybe a show, or perhaps that it was based off of a series of comics that I just wasn't familiar with or even aware of. Now that's a feeling that I've read that others have kind of felt about this film as well. I think even one of the early reviews had mentioned as much. Like there's some backstory that we seem to all be missing, or some joke that none of us are in on. Eventually I just kind of sat down, paid closer attention, while also letting the strange things slide. I don't know who Buckaroo is, or why he's so popular in this universe, like his actual origin story. Simply, in the world of this film, everyone loves him for all the reasons listed on his resume, rock star, brain surgeon, crime fighter, and so forth. They even have in-movie comics and a fan club. The kind of worship some have around like Keanu Reeves or Betty White or Pedro Pascal, but only without you knowing anything about their work. So if you decide to check this one out, which at the time of this video is on Prime, Pluto, and Tubi, I believe, just go in knowing that it may be a bit confusing and seem very random, but it does have that fan base for a reason. There's a reason why people really kind of cling to this. As for myself, my reason for, now that I've finally taken it all in, like why I really enjoy it, is part of it is the nostalgia for the 80s. Something that I mentioned on my video last Friday for Monster Squad. Sometimes nostalgia gives me a little something extra when it comes to liking that film, because this film just pumps up that vibe of the optimistic 80s with a triumphant soundtrack to go with it. Everything about Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers is energetic and fun, and uses a very catchy score to go along with that. There is a sense of 80s optimism which I hadn't felt since I was a kid, and the story is one which has this weird mystery of this dimension. These good aliens, the black lectroids, the banished bad aliens, the red lectroids. trying to figure out a way to detect them and stop them and save the world, all while every character is being celebrated in some way or another. You know, we have this other mystery of this Penny character who looks like somebody from Buckaroo's past. The government's involvement in the situation, and help from the Blue Blazer Irregulars. It's kind of like a fan club from within the film. And of course, on top of all of these aspects of the characters in the story is the really weird comedy sense kind of thrown in throughout it. This film never takes itself too seriously. There are some cheesy props, such as obvious like bubble wrap visors or BMX pads used as costuming. Like somebody just threw all of this stuff together. Some effects were decent for the time, some barely pass and are just kind of there to like get the point across for what's happening in the scene, so there is some cheese happening in there. But there's also a lot of random aspects thrown in, like this idea of the watermelon.
Why is there a watermelon there?
I'll tell you later.
Or the fact that all these John characters, these Lectroids, some of those names being along the lines of like John Smallberries or John Big Booty.
Forward out of your big booty!
But if you haven't seen this and know some people who are fans, you know, upon watching this, you'll suddenly hear, you know, some references that they may have thrown your way over the years. Much of it still won't really make sense if you try to dig too deep or make too much sense out of it, but by the end of this silly, adventurous 80s sci-fi nostalgic trip, you may find that even though you could only shake your head at some of the confusion around it, it was still a lot of fun and more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this quick little video here for the Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension, which at the time of this video, like I said, is on Prime, Tubi, and Pluto. It may change by the time this posts. It's also on paid rental. If it sounds interesting, go ahead and check it out. And anyways, that's all that I've got for this quick little 80s throwback here. Thanks for coming by and sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing. And here comes up a few links. And I will see you in the next one.